I would assume that the Google Hangouts is probably what we want to try and do. Cool.
I've got a list of things.
We will try and work out the hang-ups to hangouts.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scott.
I'm Luke.
And I'm Jonathan.
And this is the No Way to Hollywood podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we're grateful that you're here.
My mustache needs a trim.
As you can tell, I am currently stuck in quarantine. I decided to visit a place in the world where they had an outbreak of coronavirus. And as such, I am visiting this podcast remotely. I do have to give a shout out to someone who asked for it. So Xavier, this one's for you, bud.
Wow.
Yeah, we actually had somebody who was a fan write a comment. So props to you.
Just remember, that's what you get when you do stuff like that.
So I'm a little bit confused, though, Scott, because you said you're not here, but, like, it looks like you're here, man. Like, I can't even tell that you're not here. Like,
what do you mean he's not here?
Yeah, he said he's not here. I don't...
Wait a minute. What's Scott, where are you?
Okay, so it's pretty awesome because this is all practical, people. I know that it's hard to believe, but we don't have any other special effects, just in-camera magic going on right now, bringing Scott into this podcast.
It's an effect, and let me tell you, it's special.
In light of the fact that I am quarantined because of a virus, we are going to spend some time tonight chatting about exactly the effect this virus is having on our beloved film industry. Jonathan, can you pick out a few interesting facts to let people know what's actually going on in Hollywood right now?
Turns out 2 + 2 = 4. All right, interesting facts.
Only for small values of 2.
Oh, my gosh, guys. Don't do the rounding thing. It messes the whole math up. All right. Okay. So, all right. I just want to talk a little bit about some of the ways that the coronavirus has been affecting the film industry. So, in large strokes, okay, and I got a lot of this information from the website /film. /film is a film blog, movie journalism website.
Link below.
So, they have a recurring news story, which is sort of just a big list of all the different entertainment industry things that are being affected by coronavirus. The big things are this, and you've probably heard about at least some of these already, but some of the big things in the entertainment industry are, one, generally speaking, I think it's only 20% of the country still has some theaters open. AMC theaters are closed. Regal Cinema theaters are closed. Alamo Drafthouse theaters are closed. Landmark theaters are closed. The vast majority of theater chains, the big theater chains in America, are closed, let alone around the world. And again, most of this I'm talking about is stateside. That's what I know about. That's what I see in these articles. That's what I'm talking about.
This isn't No Way to Bollywood, although that would be an interesting podcast.
That would be
too.
amazing. Catch back later, a year from now, when we finally figure out how to make that a reality. So anyway, theaters are closed across America, all across the states, and probably across the world, all right? You've got, and when we want to talk about things that are going on around the world, we can talk about movies like Mission Impossible 7, which was filming in Italy when they delayed and now have stopped production. We've got The Matrix 4, which has stopped production in Berlin.
Which, by the way, Scott, they're making a Matrix 4.
Yeah, there's a Matrix 4. Did you know about that?
I did not know about that. I don't know how to feel about that, to be perfectly honest.
That news broke like a whole 6 months to a year ago, or even longer, depending.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I am the worst film student in the world, so you know.
You're just the worst film goer in the world, Scott. I'm the worst film student.
Whoa, shots, everybody. Calm it down. All right, so The Matrix 4, that's a movie. It's happening, and it's now stopped happening. They have stopped that for now. I'm trying to think what a lot of TV shows. So like the streaming services, right? So you sort of think like, oh yeah, studios and movies are being hit by all this, but maybe Netflix, like they obviously they're good. Well, they still have to make stuff. They still have to produce things, and so The Witcher season 2 is delayed, shut down. Stranger Things is shut down. A bunch of other movies and TV shows across the board. Pretty much everybody's shutting down. And there's a few other things that are really interesting. Movies like Mulan, which is supposed to open up later this month, James Bond's No Time to Die, which is supposed to open up in April, Black Widow, which was opening up soon. All those movies and more have been delayed, and we don't know when. We don't know when. We don't have a dates for lots of these. Now, James Bond's No Time to Die has been delayed to November. That's when but that was early on. We don't know if that will change even now. And some of these films, like Fast and Furious 9, which was supposed to come out sometime this summer, I forget when, but like midsummer, that movie is straight up moved a whole year. They just delayed it from 2020 to 2021. So the industry has got a ton of delays, a ton of production delays. A lot of productions, if not all of them, have essentially shut down or been delayed for at least 2 weeks, if not longer. And having looked at those stories, and there's one that also stands up to the top of me of being fascinating, which is because of all the theaters shutting down, all these things changing, Universal has actually decided to take one of its movies that was opening up very soon, if not like this weekend, which is Trolls 2 World Tour. I got to be honest, I don't really care about Trolls movies at all. They're not my jam at all. They are a family audience for sure, and they are releasing that movie in theaters. Whatever theaters are open, they are releasing it. But day and date, the same day, they are releasing that on video on demand services. So it's probably going to cost them around $20 to rent, watch it, etc. on streaming. But the point is, for the first time, well, I mean, this happens with some of the low, like some of the movies you don't really hear about from smaller production companies and such. And Netflix obviously has some deals and things that they do with Irishman and Roma, or theatrical distribution for a while. But most movies, right? The big thing, especially for theater owners, is they won't even distribute or show your movie if you won't give them a isolated theatrical run. If you can't just go to streaming day one, they want to have the right to say that you can only see this in theaters for a month, 2 months, 3 months is kind of the typical way. And then after that, you can do your licensing out to Netflix or Amazon Prime or whoever.
Oh, so it's like Sony with like Horizon Zero Dawn and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. So the reason I bring all this up is obviously this is a crazy time for a lot of people. We thought we could talk about the effects of this, but I kind of want to project, see what's going on, because I know that the big stuff we're doing right now is sort of like we're talking like 2 weeks, a month, but at the same time, this virus isn't going anywhere fast. I mean, I don't know. Everything is changing every day. We really have none of us have any more information than you do. We do not know what suddenly is going to happen. Tomorrow, the next day. In fact, for all we know, a lot of things that we might say right now might be undone by the time we even post this, just because of what might change. But the read I'm getting is that this virus is not going anywhere soon. And even if we sort of reverse quarantine statuses or in a sense, maybe some social distancing measures are reduced after a couple weeks, even then, that will have made a somewhat huge impact on the industry. The mere fact that a studio has let a movie be released on streaming, on demand, day and days the same time as the theater, and that's gone through, understand that, of course, it's coronavirus special exception, but does this mean anything? Like, what are the effects of this all going to be? What's happening right now? What's possibly going to happen in the next few months, 6 months, a year? What do you guys think?
Well, I don't think that this is really going to necessarily change anything. Like we're not breaking the wheel of the studio releasing a thing at theaters, right? And even day of releasing, it's like, okay, so I mean, yes, it's a big deal, but at the same time, they're releasing it to a theater that nobody can go to, while also releasing it streaming. So it's kind of like, well, if anybody's going to watch it, they have to watch it here, right? So I'm not sure that we're going to see a big shift from this, but I think that we are going to get some really awesome economic data for what does streaming and online only look like compared to going to a theater and live, kind of like, that in-person experience, right? And that's been a question that's been around for a long time, as people are constantly, theaters are trying to get people into the theater, but then people are like, but I got a pretty nice system at home, or now I just am used to watching movies on my phone. Whatever. Okay, wrong. Okay, but like that's fine. So like if people are doing that more and more, does it matter? How much is this going to shift it? What kind of money is involved in that? And I think we're going to see some of that, which may change what people do a little bit. But I don't know. I really don't know if that's going to change much ultimately. I think this feels more like just a, for now kind of deal. And you didn't mention the most important things, of course. that have changed, which is that Disney is releasing some of its stuff early, like Frozen 2 and Rise of Skywalker. No, I don't think that's that big of a deal. But it is interesting that they're like, okay, let's tap into this and try and get people to watch these things, see what's going on. So, yeah, Scott, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly a big opportunity for streaming services right now. The ways that we consume media in general are shifting significantly because of quarantine and social distancing. So I'm kind of curious, even for me personally, it's, I'm being put in a place where I need to question how I consume media, and do I need to change some stuff around and budget differently so that I actually have enough stuff to watch while I'm stuck at home, because apparently I was in the wrong place at the wrong time and could just, give coronavirus to everybody.
Yeah, thanks for not giving that to me. Appreciate it.
We do appreciate it, Scott.
Maybe, I don't know. But
Well, and you're an A-lister right now, right? Did they refund you, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, A-List actually decided to say, we're just going to pause it. Obviously, all our theaters are closed at AMC, so they're not going to be billing us until after their theaters reopen. And I'm thankful for that, because I never really wanted to cancel the service, but I certainly didn't want to pay if I wasn't going to be able to use it.
So what are you considering adding now that you no longer have that A-list money going out?
Well, that's not the only place I'm considering, but I am definitely looking at something like a Disney Plus that I don't already have, or Netflix, which I don't have. Those are probably the two that I'm strongly considering right now, just to have media to consume, entertainment to handle. Like, with everything else closed down, my media and entertainment options are so few, and is almost limited to streaming services at this point.
Yeah, like you couldn't possibly like fire up YouTube or something.
Why would I do that? There's nothing good on YouTube.
Yeah, like these vlogs.
Thanks for being here. We love you. We appreciate
We're
you.
glad that our content at least has gotten you watching, so that's good.
Maybe our viewership will go up by like 1 or 2 people over this course of
That would be
coronavirus.
like, what is that? Like that's like a
That's like a
8%.
That's a huge increase.
Huge increase.
100% full.
Oh man.
Okay, so Jonathan, what are you thinking as far as like production? Like, are there things you mentioned a slash film article or something that you were reading? What's...
There's another slash film article that mentions that right now. I mean, so obviously not just the industry, but many people's jobs are in question or have been basically delayed, paused. They've been fired. It's rough out there, as you well know. It's scary. But it doesn't. Hollywood is not impervious. So if you're a crew member on a set, generally, so you show up, you could be anything from a grip to a key light guy to a caterer to, I mean, even actors, right? Like, what actors got a role right now? All the productions have shut down. What director is doing stuff right now? All the productions are shutting down unless they're doing stuff potentially internally. But even then, if the rules are like they are here. Recommended high guidelines that you keep 10 people or less in a room at any given time, and if you can, work from home. When that's the guidelines you're going with, film, the collaborative art, is easily one of the first things gets hit, let alone the profit problems of theaters not being open and all that kind of stuff, right? So I read I very, very briefly looked over it, and it was mentioning how crew members have been hurt a lot by this, and that potentially writers are actually getting hired more right now. And there's a lot more creative content going on that way. The reason being is a writer can be anywhere from one guy in a room by himself or a writer's room of like what, maybe 8 people. So you can actually keep doing that. And it makes sense with the cash you've got and the time you've got. Studio schedules and slates are all constantly moving, constantly evolving, and lots of stuff has to be passed over because there's not enough time. And or we've looked at it and it's not worth our time. But right now, what else are you doing? Where else are you putting the money towards? So since all your stuff is shut down, why not hire a bunch of writers and spend as much time as you possibly can developing as much good stuff as you can, and try to then, when you get to the let's press play again, maybe you've got some polished stuff ready to go that you don't usually get to have access to as early. Maybe you've got a few different things you can choose. Maybe you've got some rewrites on the show you were already shooting that can fix some problems. So I've heard that's going on, and while that would seemingly hopefully be great, it doesn't, the industry is still hurting. And my real question, and this is a lot of people's in a lot of people's minds, I think, right? There's sort of this feeling like 2 weeks, right? It sort of feels like 2 weeks to a month, and maybe things will be different. And I don't buy it. Like, I just don't. I think this virus is going to be around for a while. I don't know how our response is going to shift over time. And I don't mean to be in any way adding to fear about this, but as we look at it from an industry economic standpoint and from a filmmaking standpoint, that's sort of why, if this goes on for a while, how does filmmaking change? Does it change at all? What become the requirements? What kind of things do you see? Like, for instance, you think you don't like remakes, right? Like, I don't particularly love remakes, but let's say that you don't have the ability to have a film crew out there doing stuff, like all this stuff shut down and it's going on for a while. What if you, I don't know, recut a movie, did a re-edit, did a director's cut? I think of Quentin Tarantino, who made a movie called The Hateful Eight. The typical version you can see these days is like a 2.5 hour long theatrical cut of this movie. There's another cut that he went on a roadshow with that was 4 hours long. It was 2 hours, intermission 2 hours. It was more content. He also did a re-release on Netflix where he shifted the format to be more of a miniseries format. So he had different breaks, and I don't know if that was 30 minutes, an hour, something like that. And he had, I don't know, maybe anywhere from 3 to 8 episodes. Never looked into that particular version of it, but he did a different cut of it because he had so much content and a different way of splicing it. And there's totally deleted scenes and stuff that are on the cutting room floor. So now imagine that you're, I don't know, maybe you're Adam McKay and Will Ferrell, and you've got some time on your hands, and you're not shooting anything, but you've got all the footage from Anchorman, all the alternate takes of Anchorman, of all the different scenes where everyone was improvising. Maybe there's a different movie, maybe there's a wholly different movie in there, and you've never had the time or incentive to go back and do anything with it. But when it's just you and an editor in a room, and then you can digitally release that for some sort of profit, maybe you suddenly have a reason to do that. Maybe there's different re-edits coming. Maybe there's different director's cuts coming. Delete, longer versions and different versions. I mean, how many different versions of Blade Runner are there?
Well, and I'm just thinking now, it's too bad that George Lucas doesn't have control of Disney anymore. I mean, think of all the additions he could pump out right now.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, Luke, that would be great. Let me tell you, Luke, we had been talking earlier about some different other film options. Like, Luke, what else do you see? What other direction do you see the film industry going because of this right now?
Well, I wonder if there's going to be more animation, because again, you can have like a voice actor in a sound booth, and then the director and the audio guy in the in the other room, and then you've got your animators, and they can all work from home remotely. Are we going to see more cell animation, maybe some machinima? Are we going to see some 3D stuff? Is that all going to happen? Like maybe there's something in animation. We're going to see a boom in that coming forward.
And I gotta add to that, I've been wondering if we'll see more, like, if this goes on long enough, does the industry get to a point where they say, well, let's do more shooting like we did for the show The Mandalorian, which, if you don't know, used a special new technology that's essentially a screen. Think of it like a warehouse set. And instead of building with wood and everything, a set with a room or whatnot, they have a screen that curves around, a big screen, and it projects on the ceiling and everything. And what they do is they build some practical things on the floor for the actors to interact with or, touch and stuff like that. But the screen itself is, they're using like a video game engine to create sets, to create, alien worlds or the inside of a cantina or whatever it might be. And there's cameras around the screen that look at where the camera is. It's a positioning system. So wherever your film camera is, where you're shooting the stuff, it actually changes all of the background to be the right perspective of what the character is. It's really cool technology.
How does that help with production?
The reason I think that might actually help with production is a few different things. If you actually go on a location, you've got to travel there. That requires drivers. That requires equipment. You've got to have the equipment to set up your lights and do all your different changes to deal with the sun. You've got to have the crew begins to exponentially increase the more you go to locations or even do a typical set.
And you've got the great unwashed masses that you're traveling through too.
Depending like what you deal. There's a lot more exposure. Right? You're out in the outside world and you're maybe dealing with some stuff you don't want to deal with. Now, if you take the camera and have your DP director, that's 2, and you have you can change this virtual set in a 24-hour period. It's a kind of a 24-hour turnaround. And the guy who does that, the team that does that, doesn't necessarily have to even be on set when that happens. There might be one guy who's sort of talking to you about that, and they can change things on the fly as needed. And even the set itself, because it's a screen projecting, actually does a good chunk of the lighting that you need. Now, it's not everything. You do need to have a light or two, maybe even a grid going on, but the lighting needs are almost suddenly taken care of by the screen itself. Not entirely, but in a good chunk. So now your lighting needs are down too. The manpower needed, like the catering you need when you're on set. You still need food when you're on a studio lot, but you can sort of segregate people on studio lots. You've got the infrastructure, you've got the rooms, you can have people coming in batches, so on and so forth. Where if you're on a set out there, I mean, you can still do that, but you're on the clock, you're trying to get on with it. You got to get the catering's got to set up, and you got to have all those people out there. I just wonder if you've really limited the amount of people you need, and you still get a really good production value potentially out of it. And so Mandalorian didn't even shoot entirely there. They did a lot there, but they did things on location in other places too. So I'm just wondering if you say, well, for this movie, let's get a skeleton crew. Let's use that technology in our studio where we've got as much control as we can get, and we'll just do the movie there. We'll do the show there. We'll shoot as much as we can there.
I wonder if we'll get more like Gravity films as well, where it's like, okay, it's one person with another person with the camera, and then maybe like a lighter, a lighting person, and then like sound, right? And like that's it. Like this is our movie, and we're gonna just make more films like this and spend more time in post. This also makes me think of what our content creators, like YouTubers, and those of us who are just creating stuff on the fly for fun, going to be doing. And is that content kind of going to rise because that's going to be available to people, right? But that also makes me think of, there's Hollywood, right? Like Hollywood is doing stuff and the studios are struggling and all these films, but there's also all of the people who just work in media, right? So if you are a church, media person, well, church isn't happening. So you're not doing that anymore, right? Or if you are someone who does wedding videos, oh my goodness, no one's getting married right now. That's not happening. Or if you had all these gigs lined up to go do, whatever, like it's all canceled. And so reading the blog posts of people who have said, I had months of stuff and it's all canceled. So there's no cash coming in anymore. And what does that look like for people? And we've talked about a little bit of the recession and kind of how this affects things, but there's a real potential for another major economic downturn kind of globally because nobody can do anything, right? You're stuck at home, Scott. Now, granted, you can work from home remotely, which is awesome, but like a lot of people in the media industry can't unless you're able to like edit remotely or write remotely or do some mixing or something. But like if you are into production, what are you going to do?
I mean, there's some other things you can do too. Like if you are the church, some churches are still streaming their service, right? So, I mean, if you're on like the streaming team, right, if you're doing that kind of stuff, you still have some work. It's just that you can't, well, like you said, lots of guys who had gigs lined up, they're all shifting. It's all changing right now. And so it's a pretty devastating hit to lots and lots of people and lots of different industries. But of course, media and entertainment's no different. And I keep thinking like, if this goes on long enough, how long are theaters going to be down? And how long do you keep them down? Because again, they're not just groups of people. They're groups of potentially hundreds of people in one area for 2.5 hours, all breathing the same air, right? So how long until that's suddenly okay again? And even if it is basically no longer mandated to be gone and people are like, it's back up, they've opened up again. Even when that milestone's hit, who's ready to go do that? Who's prepared to go do that?
You're looking at an industry that's going to try and cut budgets wherever possible. And one of the big areas that they're going to cut is man hours because they have to, like they literally have to. But at some point, they're going to run out of content to give us too. And so at that point, something needs to be done. So you are going to start to see lower budget productions made. Yes, taking advantage of technology as much as possible. But I think those smaller, kind of more independent feeling productions are what we're going to see first when we're starting to get back into the flow of things again.
Well, except for that, we've also paused on a lot of these big productions, right? Like we're just not going to release it. So we're waiting to when we can release it again. So yes, once we get back to rolling, I think there will be potentially smaller budgets. But I also wonder, thinking back to the Great Depression, where it was kind of the theaters that kind of kept going to them because like we just want to feel good even though we can't do anything, right? And so you've got Wizard of Oz and all of these films that are like, let's make people feel good, and they're going and they're paying for entertainment. Now, granted, I don't know how percentage of anything, but like that, there's a part that media plays in the general sense that people have in the world. So I wonder if there's just going to be a shift in all of that. It'll be very interesting to see how it goes.
But at the same time, I'm fascinated by because Because in the Depression or other series of times, like, it was money's the issue, and there's lots of different issues going on, but it's not that the theater wasn't made out to be a potential place of danger to the individual who was wanting to escape the reality. In fact, it was the opposite, right? This is a place to come to be with other people in a joyful manner, to think about something other than your life and the hardships right now. All right, that's kind of the gist. That's the sell. Well, if you flip that and people are scared of the theater, or at least have been for a time and have to get over that, and that's the other thing. The industry is already worried that they can't make movies that are in mid-budget range or even low-budget ranges because no one will go see them. They believe that the big thing right now is event movies. That's why they keep doing remakes and big things and Avengers, and like, they're trying to do that because they're trying to find something that'll bring people into the theaters to make money. And right now, it seems to be that the thing that gets people into the theater are these giant event films. Well, giant event films like Avengers Endgames are coming every once in a while. And we've got some, there's a Bond movie, there's some other things, but there's no Endgame this year. There's no Star Wars, end of the whole Star Wars saga this year. There's nothing quite of that caliber. And I almost wonder if you need that this year. Like, I almost wonder if when you bring it back, you need to say, yeah, we delayed Avengers Endgame and everybody really wanted to see it. So when we finally put it back in theaters, everybody's actually willing to brave it because they want to see it that badly. But without that, are you going to get people to go back and sit in theaters? I mean, especially if it goes on long enough that some of the stuff you're able to make when you finally come, you get your Bonds and everything coming out again, Mulan, hopefully, things that people wanted to see, but it's not, I don't know, it's just not the same level of draw. Like, I somewhat worry about it, especially if it really is true that it is event filmmaking that's going to make them all the money. And it's, it's all this, everything seems to be moving in this sort of this one weekend or two of this huge spike of money and this huge amount of budget you spent on the movie in the first place. If you're going more indie, right, where you've got lower budgets and you've done a smaller story, still going to be great, but you spent that time. And if you're doing even the Mandalorian technology where you've got sort of big production values, even though you didn't actually go shoot that way in a sense, right, you get that opportunity now. There might be a way to make this happen, right? I would love to see a resurgence of the mid-budget movie. I'd love to see a resurgence of original ideas and so on and so forth. And maybe this is a way into that, but you still got to get people in seats, or you got to get your money somehow. And streaming services have never been as lucrative as theater experiences.
No, they haven't. But at the same time, what we're talking about scheduling wise, with delaying the movies that we have, and then once we're able to start producing movies again, producing a different kind of movie potentially at the start, we are going to end up cramming a lot of movies schedule-wise from that kind of October time frame to the end of the year. I mean, assuming that we're going to do that. I mean, we already have Bond delayed, and we don't know what the theater going experience this summer is going to be like, or even if they can, get some of the movies that are scheduled to come out this summer done in time to come out this summer now.
I don't know why they would release or cram them all, because people aren't going to have money to go see them all anyway. So why would you do that? I don't see the reality of that.
Well, at the same
time, Luke,
I
once theaters are back open, you've all of a sudden got that place for people to go to, like, actually want to spend their entertainment dollars again. I mean, I love being crammed in my house, but I don't know that many people. Well, let's be honest, I hate being crammed in my house. So as soon as that theater's open again, I'm probably going to go.
Right, but you still got a job. There are a lot of people who don't have jobs right now, so I'm very interested in how the economics goes, with pushing a movie all the way to next year. Are they just going to reset the whole thing? Are we just going to skip, the awards this year and just say, we're not going to do them because, nobody could go see them? I don't know.
I have another theory as to why they might release it in a sort of packed fashion, even if people can't pay to go see, which, I mean, they don't want to do that, but I wonder if there's sort of a gambit that comes into the fiscal year, right? If you're Disney, you've got a fiscal year, you've got all these things. I mean, obviously, it's already been messed with a lot, but at some point, do you say, well, it's a decision between releasing Mulan in our fiscal year, that we have all these things that were going on with that matter to us, or we delay it into the next fiscal year? How much are we willing to do that? How much do we believe is going to be the gain and return on that? And that's going to be one of those things that every business is going to have to make a decision on. And we're not privy to that at all. And they have no idea, honestly, what the effect of all this is yet, right? None of us really do, but it's just sort of fascinating to see what maybe could come out of all of this and what is happening with all of this.
Yes, and while we don't know what exactly is going on, what we do have are so many viewers of our own podcast that want something to see in the meantime. So guys, what are some of the things that you are looking forward to watching right now. And honestly, let's take into account what's going on in the world. Most of these things might have to be something that people have to find either on a streaming service or somewhere else. What are you looking for?
Like dust off your old DVDs, yo.
Like good movies.
Yeah.
Oh, so okay, so yeah, Jonathan, a good movie.
A good movie? How about a great movie? Let's
Well,
talk.
okay, fine, you can do a great movie, I guess.
Okay. The Fifth Element. I just want to urge you that if you've seen that movie, revisit it, and if you haven't seen it, you should find it and watch it. And again, I understand that I don't believe that Fifth Element's currently on a streaming service for free. I mean, maybe, I don't know. You can check Netflix or whatever. It may not be there, but a couple potential options for you. Vudu is one of those options that you may already know about, but there are plenty of options, Amazon Prime, Vudu, other places where you can totally go and find a movie and buy it. And Vudu has sales all the time on lots of different movies, like high quality, good streaming quality. And some of the rarer ones that we might bring up might be available on a streaming service for free, and take a look, but otherwise might not. And I would still urge you to, like, Fifth Element's great. Bruce Willis is in it. Mila Jovovich. You've got Gary Oldman as the bad guy. Ian Holm, who played Bilbo Baggins, he's in it as a side character. It's awesome. It's a really quirky and weird movie, but give it a chance. Watch that movie. Brilliant transitions, lots of great humor, a lot of fun. It's great. And again, another service that you might find interesting is a service called Canopy, but that's spelled with a K instead of a C. And that service, actually, you hook up to the service the fact that you have a library in your district. And you use your library card, basically, to get hooked in. And once you get that account set up, you get per month like 5 credits to watch a movie. And when I say credits, I mean everything here we're talking about is free. It's the library, and that's why it works that way. So it's essentially like borrowing a title from your library digitally. So you can do that. And Canopy, it's not a huge breadth of movies. It's not Netflix, the bottomless pit of movies. It's smaller. And so you can, it's different kinds of movies. It can be artsier movies or older movies, and it gives you, it's a different, if you're looking for something different, Netflix is boring the crap out of you, or you just can't figure out what to do there, or Fifth Element's not your jam, or, I don't know, you're not ready to spend some money to buy a movie, whatever it may be. Maybe give Canopy a shot and see if there's anything on there that's of an older time period or a little bit artsier that you might find interesting, and give that a shot if you're into that kind of thing.
Cool. Hey, Luke, how about you? What suggestions do you have?
If you have not done a lot of foreign films, I would recommend that you check out Castaway on the Moon. I think it's great. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't have quite the same magic in the second half of the film, but the first half is just awesome. It's great, and the whole thing is fun, but it kind of loses it there. Another film that I would highly recommend would be Starbuck. It is great. I will say, though, warn you that the movie does start out with a really awkward masturbation scene, but it does get better from there, and it's actually one of the most family-friendly, positive films out there.
It's very good.
But it just don't
very
freak out
awkward.
from the first few minutes. Just roll.
That's a bold.
Let's be honest. Luke's been suggesting this movie to me for ages, and I still haven't seen it. And eventually, he's going to just tie me down and make me watch it.
Or Scott's just going to get quarantined.
Oh wait, I already am.
Oh no.
Okay, and one more foreign film. If you haven't watched it, I would recommend Lagan. It's 4 hours of awesome Bollywood. It's phenomenal.
If you like 4 hours of Bollywood awesomeness, if you like really cheesy but really fun action, if you think epics are great, you need to check out, Netflix has got this right now, Bahubali, parts 1 and 2.
He got it in. Bahubali. Okay, Scott, you. What do you recommend?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Going back to our conversation earlier about like editors' cuts and different stuff like that. I know that one of the greatest movies ever made that has a sequel that is also one of the greatest movies ever made.
Lady and the Tramp?
No. That would be
Star
The
Wars.
Godfather Parts 1 and 2. Now, as one of my film professors said, Part 3 does not exist, so don't watch it. But if you want to watch The Godfather Parts 1 and 2, supposedly there is a sequential cut of both these movies together that you should take a peek at. Now I say that because The Godfather Part 1 is a very sequential story, but The Godfather Part 2 has early scenes that happen before The Godfather Part 1, as well as scenes that happen after the original Godfather. And yeah, I'm really curious and would absolutely love. I mean, it's The Godfather. It's a great movie, great storytelling, and to see it cut sequentially would just be fascinating. So I would recommend trying to find that and making that work out. Any other thoughts for our viewers before we take off tonight, guys?
Guys, Bahubali Part 1. You only got to give it 30 minutes. I'm telling you. I know that seems like a lot, but like, what are you doing? It's coronavirus time. It's the era of coronavirus. Just sit down, give it 30 minutes. If you don't have a smile on your face at the end of that 30 minutes and you're not
Turn it off.
turn it off because it's not going to get any different.
You're not going to like it.
But if you're smiling, if you're enjoying it, you strap in, buddy. You go parts 1 and you go parts 2. You don't have to do it at the same time. I'm not saying be crazy. I'm just saying give it a shot. Bahubali. That's B-A-H-U-B-A-L-I.
Okay.
I think he likes
stay healthy.
it.
Just stay healthy. Just stay healthy out there, friends.
Bahubali.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us tonight. We hope that you continue to enjoy watching movies, even if they're the old ones or the weird ones and the foreign ones. But go ahead and stick with it. We'll stick with you and keep giving you new content on No Way to Hollywood.
And we really hope that you enjoy this stuff too, here on YouTube.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good time.